Hello, Kirsten. Hello, everyone.
Hi, Christina. Hi, everybody.
We're back today with not the last step, but getting very, very close to that. The last step to walking through the EMCC competences. And we look at number 7, which is use of models and techniques. We'll say it again in case you missed the other ones. I would say the one from last week was very, very useful. Go back and take a look either on here, saved one on our profile on LinkedIn or Facebook, or directly on YouTube, where you'll find it in a full playlist. And obviously, if that's useful for you to explore not only EMCC, you'll find also a playlist on all of the ICF core competences, so you can see how the two associations come together on these terms of coaching, individual coaching competences. Kirsten, two more. There's two more
Yes,
standards we have to go, and after that we move, I think, nicely also with the team coaching ones. That has been a part of the feedback that I've heard, and things that a lot of people that watch this thing said, yeah, that would be nice if you move also in team coaching, as it is one of the important things happening also with the ACTC being now open. Okay, then today, use of models and techniques. Models. So same thing, we have a definition for it. We want to take a look at what are the indicators related to each of the levels within the EMCC accreditations. And the third step being, obviously, how does all of this relate to the elements of reflective practice that we need to do for our accreditation? I think this one has a clear connection, I would say, as a spoiler in advance. Number 7. Kirsten, want to kick it off from the definition?
yeah. So we have applies models and tools, techniques, and ideas beyond the core communication skills in order to bring about insight and learning. And again, we have a development from foundation to master practitioner. At foundation, what you are the capability indicator says bases approach on a model or framework of mentoring and coaching. So that means you know one model and you know it well. And that is something like in ICF, ACC, where it's quite okay if you're using one model of coaching, as long as it's a model of coaching and not of something else, it'll be fine for the ACC. And then at the master practitioner, master practitioner level, uh, it becomes more and more flexible. So at master practitioner, we have demonstrates own unique approach to mentoring and coaching based on a critical evaluation of accepted models. So in a sense, you are making coaching more and more your own as you grow as a coach. That doesn't mean that you start being a coach by inventing your own thing. You are starting with being a member of a community of practice of one approach. You learn more and more approaches or about more and more approaches to be able to make a conscious decision of what your own understanding of coaching is, but not in the sense of you invent a new coaching model or technique, but you are in critical communication and evaluate critically everything that's out there to develop your own ethical stance and develop your own idea of coaching. So foundation level, as I said, you know one model and you are able to use it. And then at practitioner level, you develop a coherent model of mentoring and coaching based on one or more established models. You are able to use the tools and techniques, and you are already able to use models and approaches from the client context. So you're becoming a little bit more flexible than at foundation level. And you must remember foundation level for EMCC are people who have had maybe a 30-hour coach training and have, I think, 50 hours of experience. So not a lot of experience. These are really people who've just started their coaching journey. Between master practitioner and senior practitioner, you have, and practitioner, you have senior practitioner. And there again, it's about connecting various models and starting to substantiate your own approach. And the knowledge about different approaches is more in depth. So it says applies in-depth knowledge and experience of models, tools, and techniques to help the client deal with specific challenges as well as the overall outcome. And so it is about making it more adaptable again and making it more um, reflective of everything that is out there. So you might think that the master practitioner is a master of mishmash, but that's not the case. So you might very well decide that, yes, you start learning one approach and you want to stick with that, but you don't just stick with it because you have no other choice, but you stick with it potentially because you have experienced other models, you've made a conscious decision that this is the ethical stance, the ontology, the epistemology, the axiology. So that means kind of the values and the deontology, explaining a difficult word with another difficult word. Or you could say maybe ethics, the stance of that. Of you've evaluated it and developed your own stance. For example, I would say my coaching is a social constructionist coaching, so interactionalist mixture between solution focus and narrative. And as you've probably noticed, I'm super keen on co-creation and partnering with my client. I am allergic to anyone thinking they know more about the client than the client knows about themselves. So I have, I'm a master practice at Master Practitioner EMCC, but I also know a lot about other approaches. So I have looked at them. I know why I am not going and analyzing somebody's goal system, or I know that why I'm not analyzing somebody's learning style, because I think these categorizations limit people. So I've made a decision. I think categorizations have the big danger of limiting people. I don't think it's unethical to do that if you do it to support the client in their conversation, but I wouldn't do it unless a client says, I absolutely want it, and then I'll go with the client. So I've developed this flexibility, knowing my preference is not to put the client into any kind of boxes or system that comes from me, but I am able to work with clients' systems, even if they contradict my own way of wanting to do things. And then, of course, it's the prerogative of the client to want to work with me, given the fact that this is not my preference. But I think reflecting on the philosophy, the basics of our work is something that we don't do enough. Probably said this before because it is one of my pet peeves that people seem to love a new tool, a new sparkly, shiny little thing that they can use with the clients in practice. But this whole idea of what is my theory of change? What do I think that I'm doing here when I'm coaching? How do I know that my coaching works? What tells me that this was a good coaching session and why? So, for example, if you have a good solution focused coaching session, you would notice that by the client talking a lot about desired change in the past or in the future. If you had a good, let's say, psychodynamic coaching session, maybe there are a lot of insights about past trauma or about things that are blocking the client and some insights into the self. So these are completely different conversations that you're having. We're all having them under the same umbrella coaching, but we're not really talking about it. It's almost like we have a Roman Catholic priest and an imam, but they're not talking about their different theologies. They're talking about what they can do in order to create a wonderful religious customer experience. And they're exchanging what to wear and whether to use candles or not. That's really, we're often really at the surface level of what we're doing and not at the model model or I mean, we sometimes are at the model level because you buy a training in neurolinguistic coaching, you buy a training in ontological coaching, you buy a training in coactive coaching, you buy a training in solution focused coaching. So we are talking on the level of models, but we're really not talking enough on about what we base our models on and why we actually believe this is true.
Mm.
And I would encourage us to do that with all respect. I
Mm.
mean, I started my grown-up life studying linguistics and theology. And in theology, people of different religions can talk to one another and compare, and there's a whole field, comparative religion. Philosophy is the study of different thoughts, different systems of thoughts. So there is a precedent of being able to respectfully talk to one another, even though we have completely different ideas of what the hell it is that we're doing and uh, why we think this works. When in
Mm.
the end, the goal is the same. We want to help. We want to help. We all coaches want to help people grow. So there is something that unites us. And I think it would be so lovely if we could have discussions on this level. And anyone, hey, colleagues from psychodynamic, neurolinguistic, uh, so, coactive, ontological, what have you, coaching. I invite you if anybody wants to come and do a panel with me, and we'll very uh, in a very friendly way bash each other about our foundational theories. I'd love to do that. So maybe
Mhm.
on one of
I
these
think,
years in a conference we could. I don't know.
and if not, we create that space for a conference like that. I think that
Yeah.
would be a very interesting conversation. I think what you're saying in there's also now bringing it down to any kind of levels of EMCC um, development. I think what you're saying in there is also about one, us as each of us as coaches taking the time to really reflect on and do that reflective practice of saying, what do I think that I'm doing that it's working? You know, what do
And
I
how do I
take
know
from
that
this?
it's working? What is it that I'm
How do I
doing?
see that?
We have two
And
people, they're talking to one another, and somehow
mm,
suddenly the other person changes. How does that work? And we have very different explanations for that. And I think if you bring it back to the competencies at foundation and practitioner level, you know one thing.
mm,
But the more you grow as a coach, I think the wider should be your net and the more conscious should be your choices around which methodologies and which foundational philosophies you want to use and which you don't want to use. Also, to create clarity for yourself, to create clarity for the customer. Um, as you can see, I feel passionate about this, so I'll stop rambling. But
no, I think that these are these two layers. One is we each of us as a coach, I think we have our kind of like responsibility towards us and our clients to make sure that we take time to reflect upon these things, to just get ourselves around what is it that we're doing. And second of all, I think the other layer is not only just with myself but also among ourselves as a profession. We keep on talking about the coaching profession, and I think a profession needs to be also based on a space that you have a chance to have not only debates but have conversations around do you use and how does that mean and how does that work, but with an open mind of trying to understand what the other one is trying to say. You might have your own other methodology or approach, but just having a conversation about them. So I think these
I,
two layers need to be present.
I mean, I think the best thing is to try and be able to state what a different position is saying in ways that the person with a different position would accept, so as to not build a straw man. So I could ask like a person from NLP, okay, if I understand you correctly, a lot of this is based on internal structures. And then only if that person agrees, I can say, well, I don't think these exist. How do you know these exist? And what is, what is your basis for believing that? So
Mm-hmm.
it's not a coaching conversation in the sense of coaching the other person, but it's, I think, a good and rigorous academic discussion, which can be a debate. You know, we can say, okay, you think this is true, please prove it. I think this is true, and here's how I prove it. So this is not like we're all hunky dory, love each other, and anything goes. It's a different kind of conversation, which we're not having, and we should.
Hmm. Well, if we take something from our conversation today, is that we should create the space for this conversation to take place, for this wider conversation, debate, sharing, all of those verbs in there of come, let's talk. Come, let's talk from about different approaches. And I think this is an element that I've appreciated also in the Solutions Academy courses. If I look now at the onboarding or at the advanced classes, where we have coaches joining from different methodologies, approaches, anything behind them that is not necessarily solution focused, because that's what they took a decision, that's how they grown, and probably um, help them at those moments. What we're trying to bring is what do you have at your basis, at your substance, and how can we add these layers of, first of all, ICF EMCC competencies, but also how can we bring you aware of what is SF and how can SF maybe support your transformation or development further on.
But that's the
So
nice thing with solution focus, in the sense, if somebody's goal is, I want to be a better NLP coach, we can help. No problem. I mean, in we have a preference for solution focus, but we're not ideological. So if you come and join us for an onboarding or for supervision course or for masterclass, we'll help you be the best coach that you want to be. And we don't want to make you solution focused. That's ridiculous. We
can
want to
tell you
develop
what it's all
you.
about.
But no, we are not a cult.
Yeah.
We're quite happy to support you and who you are and what you want to do.
And see, this exactly what you said now also supports the way the now linking back to our purpose today to talk about this number 7 is what I'm reading also in there is that you should not transform an approach that you have started with into a cult, into an ideology, into nothing else exists, but take it as a that's where I start. Now let's see where can I go, how can I grow, and where would that lead me to?
And
So
reflect, really, not just, oh, there's a new tool, let's use it. Well, it doesn't fit with any of what I'm doing, but kind of looks cool, so I'm gonna, no, really sit down and reflect. What is this tool doing? What is it inviting clients to do? Is what it is inviting clients to do something that works with me or with my ethics, and so on and so on and so on. But again, as an ex-theologian, I love these kinds of thoughts. I love thinking slowly and deeply. Um, and I know that's not everybody's preference, and that's also okay.
good. Thank you very much for this 20 minutes of exploration, because I find it useful to just see also these other thoughts that are, or the other spaces that are emerging. And I'm going to take this one of how do we create this conversation, because I think there's a thumbs up also, but I'm taking it, it's really linked about exactly to this topic. Let's have that conversation. Next time we look at the last one, and the last competency is under from EMCC. It's around evaluation, and with that, we're actually closing down the entire space. So this is the competencies for one-to-one coaching. Kirsten, thank you so much. And we see each other next week talking about evaluation. Enjoy the week. And if you need anything or if you have any questions, you know where to find us. Come to a meetup, come to an info call, send us an email. We'll be there more than happy to support and to provide you with the things that you might be needing. As far as we can get them, we will be able to send them over to you also. No, as much as we can. Also, I would say if you wish for sun happy that to say I'll send whenever we have some also here. Take care.